The key wouldn't turn. Ethan was stuck on his porch, racking it again, more forcefully this time. But the lock would not turn. His bespoke smart lock, the one he had spent half a year fine-tuning, was missing. Instead, a cheap, rusty deadbolt that appeared to have been ripped from a salvage yard. Heart racing, he reached for his phone and opened his home security app. Nothing, no signal, no entry. Even the backup key card was useless. His eyes narrowed as he moved closer. Taped to the door was a fresh sheet of paper, HOA letterhead glaring at him like a threat. Your home access has been revoked due to repeated violations. Violations. Ethan never saw any, never got warned, never even thought about what they might be. He stood frozen in shock, shallow breaths misting in front of his face, staring at the front door of his own home. A curtain twitched across the street. A neighbor glanced out, then disappeared behind the blinds like a mouse scurrying into a hole. This wasn't a lockout. Somebody had entered his office, disassembled his system, and left this rusty hunk of junk in its place while he was at work. And Ethan had a pretty good idea already of who would have the nerve to do this. The morning had begun like any other. Coffee was percolating, kibble was tossed for Shadow the cat, and then off to the cybersecurity company where Ethan worked on designing high-level networks for high-risk clients. Think federal governments, not suburban homeowners associations. If anyone could create a system that couldn't be hacked, it was him, which made this hack not only intrusive, but downright ridiculous. Margaret Hensley, president of the HOA, self-appointed queen of the cul-de-sac. She despised him from day one. His solar panels, his unobtrusive server unit, his refusal to bow down. They'd all been transgressions in her book. Her control freakery had become increasingly demented by the month. But Ethan never imagined she'd go this far. He'd had her tiny gripe letters already, always complaining about his gear configuration, even with it being complete compliance and in a hidden behind a slick panel setup. He always was courteous in replying, believed that would suffice. Clearly it hadn't. Ethan retreated away from his front porch. No screaming, no door banging, no 911 call. He was a system guy, and this was a system that was in need of cracking. He took his laptop and worked at it quietly in an out-of-the-way cafe. His home surveillance was down, but everything was still being backed up to a hidden encrypted cloud within his system. He had some video in mere minutes. Margaret, during daylight, waving wildly while a fellow in a ratty van removed his smart lock. Her shout came through loud and clear in a microphone that he'd buried in a pot plant. "Trim the wires first," she commanded. "Make it look real so he can't sue." Ethan's sharp, amused breath cut the air. They had no idea what they were up against. He could have called the police at that moment, but Margaret would hide behind the HOA, bury everything in red tape. He didn't want a resolution, he wanted a reckoning. He called his legal contacts, his tech friends, while pulling metadata and syncing video timestamps. He even made a call to a locksmith, not to break in, but to get ready for a legal re-entry once he had solid evidence. That night he crashed at his buddy Lucas's house. Tranquil on the surface, but beneath, he was a storm. Back in the community, Margaret was on a smear campaign. Accused Ethan of having secret illegal surveillance technology. Said he was dangerous. Bragged about a special emergency HOA resolution to exclude him. Neighbors, not knowing she'd staged a vote and disregarded all protocol, nodded along. She believed her title rendered her invulnerable. She was mistaken. The following morning, Ethan walked by his house and hid a device behind a planter. It appeared to be a soil sensor, but it was a directional antenna, quietly pinging for interference with his concealed systems. She'd destroyed the visible equipment, but his redundancies, still running. By afternoon, he was prepared. He strode into the HOA clubhouse where Margaret sat between two board members. Smiling calmly, he laid a stack of papers on the table. His deed, the HOA bylaws, and documentation his tech installation had been approved years ago. Margaret pretended to be shocked. "We were just going to call you," she said, all saccharine smarm. Ethan interrupted her, voice low but cutting. "You broke into my house, meddled with my personal property. That's criminal trespass." Her smile faltered. "We were following emergency procedures," she stuttered. Ethan clicked his tablet. The footage of her directing the contractor started playing. Color left her face. One of the board members gasped, "When was this taken?" The other went white. "This is just the warm-up," Ethan said. "The feature presentation's about to start." Margaret struggled through flimsy X. She nodded her head, breathed softly. "I didn't know until after." That did it. Margaret had carved her way through. As he left, Ethan bumped into Mr. Len, a retired mechanic who grumbled about Margaret's earlier HOA cons, such as charging a man for a birdhouse. Her empire, crumbling. That night, Ethan set out a honeypot Wi-Fi called HOA security. It was impersonating a messy network. Within a few hours, a weathered Android tablet joined, attempting passwords. Loaded a script titled lockbypass.js. It led back to the clubhouse. From a telephoto lens, Ethan took photos of Margaret's son, Tyler, slumped over the same tablet. Papers with Ethan's name strewn about. They were panicking, and it showed. Next was an anonymous email from Resident 99, screenshots of Margaret in a group chat boasting of neutralizing the tech pest. Ethan responded with, "You've helped more than you know," and added it to the stack. The honeypot intercepted Tyler's hacks, and even Margaret's iPad. Her voice captured, "This'll shut him up. Call it a safety risk." Her words now rested piled on top of everything else. Emails, video, lies. Ethan encountered Sam, who gave him a complete forensic report. Phantom timestamps, proxy blunders, even a phony email attached to Margaret's coupon program. Ethan packaged it all, screenshots, recordings, timelines, and programmed it to auto-email each HOA resident Friday evening at 7 p.m. on the dot. The subject line? "I was locked out, but who actually has the keys?" That evening, he returned to the clubhouse with his lawyer and a county official. Margaret's face crumbled as she read the evidence. "You're suspended pending investigation," the official said. She tried to argue, but her voice cracked. That night, Ethan and Shadow watched the inbox flood. Neighbors demanded a new election. Some urged him to lead. He stayed silent. He didn't want control, just peace. By Saturday, the community was in open rebellion. His report was passed hand to hand. Margaret's strong leadership persona? Shattered. A pie was left on his porch. A note. "Sorry we doubted you." Ethan nodded, determined to get this done. A code inspector who was tipped off by his lawyer discovered phony HOA policies and infractions in the clubhouse. Margaret was nowhere to be found. Behind drawn blinds, hiding. Within 48 hours, the board voted her out. Ethan sued civilly, not for money but for discovery. Margaret's devices would be confiscated. Her falsehoods decrypted. The state HOA association initiated an investigation. Sam uncovered Tyler having utilized fictitious credentials to gain access to surveillance equipment. That danced with federal offenses. In court, Ethan played a recording of Margaret stating it was a safety risk. The judge granted full discovery and suggested criminal charges. Margaret quiets now, shrinks. Her reign over the neighborhood? Finished. And the neighborhood flourished. Laughter was back. Flower pots reemerged. A new board headed by the no-nonsense Mrs. Carter vowed openness. At a potluck, neighbors expressed gratitude to Ethan. Children ran by, free once more. Considered providing a community security seminar. Smiled at the prospect. Margaret's house grew weeds. Her mailbox was bursting. Her surveillance gadgets taken away. Her son? Gone. The empire was dust. Ethan's house was off limits now. Not because of its technology, but because of the respect it had garnered. His new voice lock opened with a click. "Welcome back, Ethan." He drank his coffee while Summer arrived. Shadow sprawled at his feet. Mrs. Carter dropped by with a thank you letter bearing dozens of signatures. An honorary HOA advisor badge pinned to the top. He grinned, pinned it to the wall, and for the first time in months, his door remained open, on his terms.